Algebra 1, Common Core, Unit 5, Section 6, the point-slope formula. So we're very familiar, hopefully, at this point with y equals mx plus b. And that is the standard form for a linear equation. And when we started this unit, or a few lessons ago, we talked about how there's a point-slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. And that's equivalent to y equals mx plus b. We can turn this into y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b is great, but what we need for a linear equation is we need to know the slope and we need to know a location. Now b is the y-intercept, so it's a very specific location. And we're going to talk a lot about that. But what's nice about the point-slope formula is you could use any point on the line. It does not have to be the y-intercept to get the equation of a line. If you have the y-intercept, that's great. You can use that. But you could use any point on the line along with its slope. Slope and any point, we can use that to get the equation of the line. For the example here, determine the equation of a line through the point negative 6, 5 with a slope of 1/2. And so if we use our point-slope formula, and again, this is a formula that's not given to you, needs to be memorized, the regular y and the regular x here, by regular I mean like they don't have the little 1 attached to it, they're going to stay y and x, so they don't change. But the x1 with the subscript 1 and the y with the subscript 1, they do change, and they come from the point that you're working with. So the x of your coordinate is x1, the y of your coordinate is y1. And the slope of 1/2, that's going to go in for m. So we are going to substitute in values for y1, x1, and m. M is the slope, x1, y1 is from your point. Remember, one of the things that's interesting about this formula is it's y minus y1. So the y value is technically what is on the left side, and the x value is on the right. But when we have our coordinate, x is first and y is second as far as left and right goes. So make sure you don't put the x value in x1 and the y value in x1 and so on. So make sure you're doing that correctly here. So you see that when substituted, what this looks like is, instead of y minus y1, it's y minus 5 because the y value of the coordinate is 5. And then instead of m in parentheses, we put half in front because our slope is a half. And x minus x1, well, x1 is negative 6. So that's minus negative 6. Anytime you see that minus negative 6, it's going to turn into a plus, so it's really x plus 6. And then this is the answer in point-slope form. But we like to get it into regular y equals mx plus b. So we're not going to stop right there. We're actually then going to distribute our slope. So 1/2 times x is just half x, and 1/2 times 6 is 3. So after distribution, that gets us here. And then all you need to do to get y alone is just add that 5 over on both sides, and that'll get you down to your standard y equals mx plus b form, y equals 1/2 x plus 8. So we could get the equation of a line from any point and its slope using this point-slope form. If we have the y-intercept and a slope. All right, let's look at some examples here. So here we're given a point and a slope, and we want to find the equation in both point-slope form and standard form. So the point-slope formula, y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. Okay, you want to take the time to memorize that. So that's going to be y minus the y value, 3, equals m, which is negative half, parentheses x minus the x value, negative 4. Minus negative 4 becomes plus, so it's really x plus 4. Distribute this in, y minus 3 equals negative half x, and negative half times positive 4 is negative 2. Remember, when you're multiplying a fraction times a number like this, negative half times positive 4, you could think of that as, times the top, divide the bottom. What I mean by that is, take this 4 and times it by negative 1 to make it negative 4, and divide it by 2 to make it negative 2. So fractions are like times top, divide bottom. And then the last thing we're going to do is add this 3 over to get y alone. So we get y equals negative half x plus 1. So that was our y equals mx plus b form. Our point-slope form was already here. I kind of drew over it, but it was y minus 3 equals negative half x plus 4. That would be the answer in point slope form. And again, that's really just from plugging in your point and your slope. You just got to remember that when you're minus and negative, it became plus. But those are the two answers that we're looking for here. And then when we distribute the slope, we get down to the y equals mx plus b. The one way this could get a little bit more challenging is instead of giving a point and a slope, we could have 2 points. So we need the slope. Well, since we need the slope, luckily we have a slope formula. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we're going to have to do the slope formula with these 2 points. And then once we have that, we'll have the slope, and we could use either point we want with our point slope formula. So for the slope formula here plugged in, that's y minus y1 is 3 minus negative 3. X minus x1 on the bottom is 3 minus 1. 3 minus negative 3 is really 3 plus 3 is 6, and 3 minus 1 is 2. This divides down to be 3 over 1. So our slope is 3. So m equals 3, which is the same thing as 3 over 1. And a point, you can really pick any point you want. I'll take the first point. I'll use the point 1, negative 3, and apply this into the point slope formula up here. So y minus y1 is going to be y minus the y value, but minus negative 3. So that's going to end up being y plus 3. M is 3, parentheses, x minus the x value, 1. Like I said, this y minus negative 3 is going to become y plus 3 equals 3, parentheses, x minus 1. And that's your point slope form. But if we want to go a little further, we could distribute. So y plus 3 equals 3x minus 3 when we distribute in here. And lastly, move this number over to get y alone, and we'll get y equals 3x minus 6 is our y equals mx plus b form. Now, it's actually very easy to check these. What you could do is once you get the y equals mx plus b form, the y equals form, in the y equals portion of your calculator, type in this equation. And then once you have this equation typed in, you can take a look at the table in your calculator by hitting second graph and see if these points are on the table. See if this point's on the table. See if it looks like it has a slope of negative a half. See if it looks like it has a slope of positive 3. And you'll see that those points are on the table and the graph looks the way it's supposed to look, and so we're good. So the point slope formula is a way to get the equation of a line from any point and its slope. If you're given 2 points, you'll have to first find the slope, and then you could use your point slope formula. All right, that's it. See ya.